Hey everybody, welcome back to another session in our race day scoring for new timers series. Today we are going to be doing a certification class. So today is going to be a step-by-step walkthrough of setting up an entire race with race day scoring. This is a bit more of an involved session, so we are going to be taking our time. It's going to run 2 hours. Going to try to get through everything. If you do fall behind, don't worry. This course is going to be recorded and we're going to be sharing it afterwards. Additionally, we're going to have, I'll show you where you can find it in the next slide, how to get access to all of the materials, including the presentation itself, and all of the files necessary to complete the course. So you'll have everything you need to catch up if you do fall behind. So again, thanks for coming. Today is our part 3 of our new timer staff training series. We are in the, oh, sorry, this is not the right slide, but we are actually in session 4. We're in the race day scoring certification. So ignore the session 3, that was last week. So today's purpose is going to be going through how to set up a very basic race with race day scoring. We're going to be covering all the topics on the right here: how to download and install race day scoring, how to create a RunSignup race and race day scoring, how to import an example participant list, how to set up a file stream to import example times, how to create a timing location and map your stream to it, setting up events and age groups, collecting reads from your stream, viewing reports, and publishing results to RunSignup. So before we dive in, if you do need assistance at any time during the webinar, we have a couple of folks on staff waiting to answer the questions. So you can use the questions panel in GoToWebinar on the right. Just expand the questions panel, type your question in, and we'll respond shortly. If you are far behind and you need desktop assistance, you're stuck on something and really can't get past it, you can go ahead and just say, hey, I need desktop assistance, or I really need help, or something like that, and we'll have one of our team members send you a Google Meet link, and then they'll be able to view your screen so that they can help get over that hurdle that you're currently in. So again, today is going to be recorded, so don't feel too concerned if you're unable to keep up with the pace. I'm going to try and keep it slow, but we are limited to 2 hours today, which is a little bit shorter than the certifications we've done in the past. So we're just going to try and keep a nice tempo. If you do get behind, don't worry. You can always catch up and complete later. You can even do a self-certification with all of these materials after the fact, including the video. Or if you have other team members that you'd like to send this to, we'll have a whole set of materials that you can share with them so they can get certified on their own after the fact. Okay, so a few things that you need to complete the course today. Number one is you do need a Windows PC. Mac version does not collect reads even from a file, so you would need to have a Windows PC in order to complete the course today. Number two, you need a RunSignup timer account. So you want to make sure that you have one. You should, if you need one in order to download the software. So if you have the download of the software, chances are you do have one, but you will need to do that. Number three, you'll need to have race day scoring version 3.1.26 installed. We want to make sure that you're on the most recent version, and some patience. We'll be trying to take things slow today to make sure everyone's on the same page. So we'll as we walk through the very basics of race day scoring. So this is a follow-up from last week's Introduction to Race Day Scoring webinar. So we dove into detail on a lot of the major concepts of race day scoring, like we talked in depth about what streams are and what timing locations are and what are their relationships. And so in the past, we've had all of that content in this session. So we kind of broke out the parts where we were really diving deep into the details of the different parts of the software and talking about them in much more detail from this certification class. And now we're just going to be doing the walkthrough in this and leaving all of the description of all the different features and things like that in its own session. So if you do need to watch that, we do have the recording of that here, the Introduction to Race Day Scoring, on our YouTube page. and you can go ahead and watch that after the fact if you'd like. If you're confused about some of the concepts, it will really help explain them. And additionally, I have in the on the GoToWebinar, I actually included a handout that I'll show in a minute that will include links over to that video and the presentation from that video as well. Again, just you don't have to keep up with us during the class, but if you fall behind, you have all the materials you need to complete the quiz at the end. Okay, so this is what we did last week. We covered in detail all of these different items, and we actually, I gave links out to each of these areas about what is a race, how to create them, viewing participants, and all these other areas here. I have links to help documentation on our help page. So if you have downloaded this presentation, you can actually click the links right in here to see more details on how to complete these different items. If you're interested in reading some more, we have a lot of content out for you there. Okay, so I think I have a poll to run before we get started. Let's just see, before we get into this, have you created a RunSignup timer account and downloaded RaceDay scoring? All right, it's coming in and looking like about 60-40 yes. So we have some folks who have not yet downloaded and installed. That's fine. We'll go ahead and get you started on that. So if you do have RaceDay scoring installed already, just make sure that you update it. You'll see this check for update button in the purple little bar here. So click the check for update and it will download the newest version. So in order to install, yeah.
So guys, this is a little bit different format, and so I just wanted to point out, if you are a secondary timer for a company, since this is this program that we've done over the last few weeks is, you might not need to create a timer account. If you work underneath another timer, you'll just want to ask them to add you as a secondary timer underneath their timer account.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll show you guys how that works. So it's pretty straightforward. What you got to do is just go to runsignup.com/timer. That's it. And what this will do is if you're logged in, it will list out any timer accounts that you are associated with. So I have one, it's called Avery Timing. If I didn't have any, it would, I'd use this area down here to create a new timer account. And then I would walk through this, or like Chris said, you could have your head timer add you to their timer account. I'm not going to walk through that right now because chances are you won't be able to get in touch with your head timer and have them add you in the time being. But if you want to learn, you can go to help.runsignup.com, and this will show you how to do. Oh, this is the back end. You don't want to see that. You search for secondary timer, you can find this guide on how to add a secondary owner to a timer account, and you could send this and the main owner of the timer could add you to their timer account. So if you go to the dashboard of the timer account, under software, you would just go to download, agree to the terms and conditions, and then select Windows here. And it will download in the background, and you just run it, and you'll be good to go. If you needed your main head timer to add you, you would just go into the settings area and then access, and you'll be able to invite secondary owners just by using this little form here, adding in the email address, first and last name. So timers are the way that an organization is given partial access to races. Races will be able to list you as a timer in their wizard when they set up their race, and then anybody who has access to this timer account will be able to have access to that race information, minus any of the financials that they don't want you to see. Okay. So we have to install it, go ahead and download, and you just simply run the executable file that you downloaded in the previous step. For today, you can use RaceDay scoring in demo mode. You will need to enter a serial number from your RaceDay Suite license when timing races in the future, but for today, totally fine. If you didn't do that quite yet, you can just run it and there's no restrictions in that demo mode. We'll just give you a ring if we start seeing that you're posting a ton of results from your account without a serial. Okay, so before we move on, I just want to make sure that people have been able to go ahead and create a timer account or download RaceDay scoring and get it installed. So I can't relaunch a poll, unfortunately. So if you just are still having issues getting RaceDay scoring installed, or if you're confused on something, feel free to put it in the questions panel and our support team will help you out. So if you're having trouble getting started downloading RaceDay scoring, please just put your question in the panel now. All right, looks like we're pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So first, we're going to be accessing all of the participant and chip read files. So I've created a handout for you. If you, on the right of GoToWebinar, there's a bunch of different little panels here. You go to handouts, you'll be able to see a, what did I call it? I called it Virtual RaceDay Certification Information Fall 2021. So just go ahead and click that, and you will see this PDF with all of these links and steps that you can use as you're walking through this. In addition, you can click this link here. You can see the actual slide deck that we are walking through right now. And oh, it looks like it's actually our own one. My fault. If you go through the participant list, that's what you'll need in order to complete the quiz. The chip read file will be the example chip reads, the link to the quiz itself, and more information on RaceDay scoring and a few other items. So in these steps down here, you'll be able to watch the RaceDay scoring webinar from 10/5 from October 5th if you haven't already, and a link to view the presentation from that webinar as well as in here. If you want to go through that, you'll be able to. So just keep this PDF handy. This is going to be kind of your cheat sheet. We'll give you all the information here that you need in order to get through the setup for today. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on. Once you download the participant list and the chip read file, that's what we'll need to do first. Just make sure that you open them up and extract them all. So I'm just gonna do that. Let me go ahead and grab this, downloads, fall 2021 PDF, and I am going to click the participant list, and I'm gonna see it over here. I'm just gonna open it up. Take this zip file, and I will right click and extract all, or however you extract zip files normally. And now I have my download sample participant list, RaceDay certification participants. So just make sure that you have this unzipped somewhere handy so you can use it. You may want to just like put it on your desktop or something. You can do it whatever you want with it, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my desktop so I have easy access to it. Okay, Got my participant list. Let's go and get my chip read file. Downloaded it. I go ahead and extract it. And click in and just click extract all as well. And now I have this folder with a single chip read file in it. Good. So I will actually go ahead and move this. I can put it on my desktop, I suppose. So now I've got a folder with sample chip reads and a file with my participants in it. So what we'll need to do now is make sure that everybody was able to access the handout. Just go ahead and respond to the poll. Were we able to access the handout from GoToWebinar? Good. Right. That looks good. And we're able to download and unzip the links. Right. Looks like we're having a little bit of trouble getting those downloaded. If you're still struggling getting the files and downloading them, feel free to put a note in the chat. So you have some time to get those downloaded and unzipped and everything, but in the meantime, we will go ahead and press on. So the very first step we're going to do is just create the race in RaceDay scoring. So at this point, I'm hoping that everyone is able to start up RaceDay scoring. And in order to import any race, you first need to select Manage Races from the main landing page of the app. So on the left, when you open up the software, there's this button here to manage races. Go ahead and click that. And next, you'll see a list of races if you already have used RaceDay scoring before or nothing here. At the top are the action items. So you can either import a race that already exists on RunSignup, or you can create a new race. So in last week's session, we went through the details on the different options here. Today, we're just going to be creating a race from scratch, not from a registration event. So we're going to use this white button to create a new race. Okay, so when you create a new race in RaceDay scoring, you have to enter in basic race info and then event info beneath that. And we talked a little bit about the difference between races and events on last week's session. So first thing, when you click create a race, make sure that you check this box to publish the race to RunSignup. We're going to be doing a little test event that will be pushing results to RunSignup from a spreadsheet of data. So go ahead and click that, and then fill in the form as follows. The race name should include something as well as your name plus RaceDay certification, just so we can see that it's a test race. Just put in like your name and then RaceDay certification here. Time zone, it should be set to Eastern or New York or whatever your computer clock is. The address can be completely made up and arbitrary, so you can do 123 Test Avenue, wherever you want. Just got to make sure it looks like a valid zip code. You can even do 11111. Doesn't matter really, just has to meet the 5-digit standard, I think, for zip codes. Then race URL, this is important. Basically, it just has to, this is not your website URL. This is what we're going to append to the URL that we create on RunSignup. So if you just named the race test, chances are there already is a runsignup.com/yourtown/test. So you need to make it more unique. So if you get an error about this URL is already used, just add some more numbers at the end of this and it will work. Okay, so under the race contact email, you can put anything you want there, but if you're setting up for another event, you may want to put their contact email there. This is not, doesn't have to be your timer email. It's actually going to be set up as the race contact email. If in the future this race winds up using RunSignup that you're creating offline, you can add that. Okay, next we're going to be adding the event information. So the event is like you have a 5K and a 10K within your big race. So very first thing you add in is the event name when you add a new event. And then just a brief overview of this. If you are scoring a race with multiple distances like a 5K, 10K, 15K, whatever, you would add separate events for each. Today, we're just doing a very basic 5K event. So that's all you need, just a single 5K. So you can go ahead and title that 5K. The event type doesn't really matter. We just need something to send when we push it up to RunSignup. You can choose run or run walk, that's fine. Next, this is pretty important. You want to get the start time and date set properly. So we're going to be doing a test race that exists in the future. It's not real. The data we're going to translate to look like it's on the 2nd of February, 2022. So just go in and set the start time to 2nd of February, 2022 at 7:45 p.m. It's important that you get this right because this defaults all of the date fields in the race. So you'll want to make sure you get this one right. Again, it's 2nd of February, 2022 at 7:45 p.m. This is an evening 5K we had some test data from. You don't need to enter an end time, and the distance at the bottom should be set to 5 kilometers. In RaceDay scoring, you can decide later if you want to report it in miles per minute or minutes per mile or miles per hour or kilometers per minute, or whatever you want, you can change it. Doesn't matter what you set right here. So you don't need to set it at 3.1 miles if you're really doing a 5K, for instance. So you don't need to click that add another event. We just have the single 5K. So again, you can create another event if you needed to time a different distance for like a 5K, 10K, you would want 2 events. To continue, go ahead and click the green create race button. So at this point, we should have a race loaded and it would look something like this. So let's just show a poll. Were you able to create the race? I'm still waiting on a few folks to respond, but it looks like most of us are on the same page. So that's good. So we will keep moving forward. So very first thing that we'll do is we will start the participant sync once we load the race up. So generally in RaceDay scoring, what you'll want to do is walk down the side and walk through all the tabs and set everything up as you go. So the very first one here you'll see is this series of arrows that starts up the participant sync so that as soon as you load participants into RaceDay scoring, they're going to go to your new RunSignup event that you've created. So select the participant sync tab. And here, if you were using a RunSignup race and they had additional data like custom questions, club membership info, or whatever, they would show here and you could pull that in automatically. Today, we don't have anything like that, so we're just going to be clicking Save Sync Settings, and that kickstarts the whole process. So just go ahead and click Participant Sync and then Save Sync Settings. Right, and so next we are going to show you how to import the participants that you have. So we're going to be importing from a file. So today we're not going to be going over how to import a race from RunSignup that already exists. It's super hard to demonstrate to a bunch of people at one time how to hook up to an existing race on RunSignup because everyone has access to different races. And it's a lot easier if we can all show you the same race file. So what we did is instead showed you how to import from a CSV. You may still import from a CSV anyways for a RunSignup event. That works totally fine. And any of those entries that you add in that method will get pushed to RunSignup if you're connected. So if you were using an existing RunSignup race and importing that, all the participants will automatically show in the app without needing to import them from a spreadsheet once you have saved that participant sync settings in the previous step. So today, we're going to be just building it from scratch as if nothing ever existed in the registration data, but you wouldn't have to do this if it was using RunSignup for registration and you imported it from RunSignup. Okay, so first select the participants tab. On the left here, you'll see just beneath the participant sync, there's a little people icon, click that. And then the toolbar, click import. And then we download this file, unzip it, save it to your desktop or wherever. That's right here. It's also in the handout. We're going to browse for the file. The fields should auto map correctly. Scroll down and select the set field mappings, start import, and then verify that all of the participants were imported. So I'm gonna leave this open over here, and I'm actually going to walk through on my end what we just did. So I'm going to create a new race. 1, 2, 3 test av. Test 11111, New York, North Carolina, sure, that's fine. So this tells me that it's generating unique URL. This is going to be added to the end of the standard race website URL. This field expects numbers and letters only. You cannot put special characters like slash or dot or anything like that. You cannot put an existing URL in here. Okay, we're going to do 5K, run or run walk. The 2nd February 2022 at 7:45 p.m. And we are doing a 5K. That's all we need. I'm gonna go ahead and click create. Gotta log in. Okay. Gonna go to my sync and save sync settings. Gonna go to my participants and we'll walk through this step now. So I'm gonna go ahead and click import. I'm going to select from a spreadsheet right here, choose file. So I put it on my desktop. You may have put it elsewhere. This is a CSV file, comma separated values. So you see on the right, I got a little preview, all my fields, they're separated by commas. If you had a tab delimited text file, you could change it, but our recommendation is to always use comma separated value files if you are importing. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that. And it's going to map fields based on the data that it sees in the file and the data that you are available to write to in RaceDay scoring. So it should automatically map these. First is first name, last is last name, gender is gender, age is age, so on and so forth. All the way down, bib number, city, state, all looks good. And I'm gonna go ahead and just say add or update participants. And it's going to say, hey, do you want to import these? Are you sure? Yes, go ahead and start. And it says my import has completed. So that looks good. If I now click back on participants/teams, I should see all of my participants in here. So let's just do a quick poll out and let's see if we were able to import our participant list. Looks like a few people have not gotten through this quite yet. So what I will do is I will just go ahead and walk through this again once I close the poll. So I'm just going to delete everything from this RunSignup race, and I'm just going to walk through this a little bit slower. So I'm going to go and click import. I'm going to use the select a spreadsheet area here. I put my spreadsheet on the desktop, RaceDay certification participants 2021. Go ahead and click open and just verify that these all look right. It should automatically map correctly for everyone out there. And click add or update participants. All right, if you're still having trouble getting these participants added, feel free to put a message in the questions panel and we'll be able to assist you further. Okay. Oops. All right, let's move on. So next we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to talk about streams and locations. So streams and locations we went pretty well in depth on last week. So if you're confused about the concepts, you really should go back and watch that one and review the content provided in it because it's really important that you understand the way this all works. So today we're going to show you how to do it. Last week we showed you the details of all the interactions between the different things like streams and locations and events and segments. So today we're going to be doing a little bit more brief discussion of it. But yeah, we do have a lot of great content out there to provide to you on all the different chip systems and how they all are set up and work with streams. I'll give you a brief overview now. So streams are basically the way we get data from an outside source. It could be a chip system middleware or a folder that you're dropping files into. Later on, the streams then feed that raw read data into timing locations, which then can be filtered in a bunch of different ways to produce scored reads, which are the ones that are used for saying, hey, this is their actual finish time. So as you know, chip systems record many, many, many more reads than you actually end up using. Those are what we call raw reads. Streams are the method to get all of the raw reads from your devices and then feed them into RaceDay scoring. So an important thing to understand, we're going to be setting up a file stream today. File stream is an easy way to get reads into RaceDay scoring. It just hooks up to a single folder and any files that are within that folder get picked up and all the reads within those files get pulled into RaceDay scoring. So usually it's a single file within a single folder and it's just putting in all the data from that one file, but nothing is stopping you from having multiple files within that folder in the case that your hardware produces multiple different files that are all actually at the start. You may have like 3 or 4 different files within that single folder that your stream is pointed to. So it considers all times from all files within that folder equally. So RaceDay scoring imports times from a folder as long as the reads are currently being connected. And you see in the top here, there's a little indicator that says reads, and it's either red or green. You can toggle it to start or stop collecting reads. So there are some chip systems that require a different type of setup, specifically like RFID, IPCO, and Trident systems. For more information on the specifics of setting up those streams, take a look at our guides here. We've done some really great sessions with actual timers of this hardware for many of them, showing you how they actually use their middleware with RaceDay scoring and how they collect reads from their hardware. So there's some really good specific guides on different hardware integrations here. And on the left here showing just how one of our sessions with one of our favorite timers over at RaceDay events, how they use RaceDay scoring in conjunction with their MyLabs system. And on the right, just showing you all the different guides we have for all the different hardware providers. Oops. Okay, so let's get started on actually adding a stream. First, go to the Stream Setup tab on the left, the next item down the list after participants. You can either select an existing stream. These streams can be reused between different races, or you can create a new one. A lot of folks we see just create on each of their timing computers a folder called Today's Reads, and they just use that as the place where they put all of their times for today's race, and then they dump it out afterwards. They archive all the data so that they can reuse this single stream that's pointed at that folder for today's reads. So what we're going to do today is create a new folder to look for times in files in that folder. So go ahead and click Add Stream. So streams can be used, again, between races. So you want to make sure your stream name is something that you can identify it with. A lot of times, people, like I said, will just create a single folder called today's reads. Some people have different folders for different readers. Totally depends on your setup, what you're trying to do. For today, I'm just going to call it MyLapse file finish so I can know it's a MyLapse type. We're going to be using MyLapse for our test data, and it's a file type, and it's supposed to be for the finish. So you can call it MyLapse final finish. You can really call it whatever you like. So today, streams come in two main varieties. Like I mentioned before, there's direct and file. Each chip system type can use a file or a direct stream depending on your needs. So MyLapse will have MyLapse file or MyLapse direct. Direct streams, they use a direct connection via TCP/IP or a network connection to either a device itself or the middleware provided by your hardware. File streams reference a folder on your computer where chip reads files will be placed and updated either by the device itself, middleware, or even potentially by like Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive. Today, again, we're just setting up a MyLapse read-lite file stream. Okay, so in the stream information, go ahead and fill out that name. Like I said, you can do MyLapse file finish, that's fine. And then from the first dropdown called stream type, we're going to select file, custom, or chip system type. This basically opens up a secondary menu, which lets you say, I'm going to create a custom file or a MyLapse file or a race result or whatever you want to do. So in the second dropdown called file type, you'll want to select MyLapse read-lite file. So this is a bit weird. It resets the stream type you just selected above it to MyLapse read-lite file. It's totally fine. That's what it's supposed to do. Just go ahead and first select file, customer, chip system file type, and then underneath select MyLapse read-lite file. Then you'll see that stream type and file type are the same. That's expected. Okay, next we're going to tell the system where to look. So we're going to set a folder path. Now remember, we aren't selecting an individual file. We're selecting the folder that a file is within or potentially will in the future be within. So go ahead and click Browse in the folder path and find that folder that you downloaded from the help or the materials that I sent over. And you'll be able to go ahead and just select the file itself, or sorry, the folder itself, and it will hook up right here. So this one's called Sample Chip Reads in my Downloads folder. So when you click Browse, brings up a Windows dialog where you can select an existing folder to point to, or you can create a new folder. You can do that. It's up to you. First, navigate some easily accessible folder. Click the New Folder button in the toolbar. You can name it Sample Chip Reads, or you can just use whatever came in the download. I think we actually had a folder already called Sample Chip Reads. So I moved that over to my desktop, if we recall. So here I have a Sample Chip Reads folder with my chip reads file within it. So we should be good to go if I just use this Sample Chip Reads folder. And then, click that folder you created or already had, and then click the Select Folder button at the bottom. So you really don't want to, one thing you wouldn't want to do is take the actual data file, like the actual spreadsheet, and put it into your desktop and then point your stream to your desktop, because it will try to reference all the files on your desktop. And you really don't want it trying to look through your participant list or like other random files you have on your desktop for chip reads. It's going to cause all sorts of problems. So what you want to make sure you do is you have a folder that has the file within it. It's super important you get that right. So yeah, you really don't want to do this. It's going to try and start looking for all the times and all the text files on your desktop. So you really want to make sure you have that folder that encloses or encases the text file itself. Okay, next we are going to set the file extension. You can set this to txt. It should default to that. You don't have to leave this as txt. You can actually leave it blank and it will reference all files within that folder, and that works the same. It's just that read-lite files from MyLapse are always in txt, so we just made that the default. All right, next you need to go to the system type dropdown and select bibtag, because this is how we tell the system what type of file from MyLapse we're going to be importing. MyLapse has ProChip and bibtag. Today we're using a bibtag file, so go ahead and select bibtag. If you're working in a different system and playing around, this will have some other options depending on the type of file you selected. Just be aware of that. Okay, so next, you are able to assign a stream while you're creating it to be used in a timing location in this section. You should always assign chip system streams as main streams on a timing location. Backup streams generally are meant to be used for importing times from a backup or manual timing source, like keyed entries or times recorded on a pad of paper and entered into Excel, or a time machine, or finish links backup, or something like that would be assigned as a backup. Chip systems, you can assign multiple streams to a single location. So if you had if it's a system where you need to set up a stream for each individual reader and you had 4 readers at a start line, you would assign all of those as main streams, not as some as backup and some as main. Today, we're just going to do a single stream of all of the reads in one stream assigned to be the main stream for the finish location. So go ahead and click assign as a main stream to the finish. Most importantly, we are going to be using a chip file from an old race. So some test data we had from years ago, and the race we are scoring in is in the future. So we have to kind of fake out the data so that it looks like it's coming in on the day of the race and not today. So the way that our system works is some chip systems provide date in the actual passing data, and other chip systems do not provide date. If we don't have a date on the read data, we assume that it is the day that you are collecting the reads. So this causes some problems if you, say, are working with a hardware system that doesn't provide date and you're rescoring it on a different day. You messed up and you need to redo the scoring. And you did not change all the read dates to the race day, it would say, whoop, okay, all the reads are coming in 2 days after the race. That's not good. So you really want to make sure that if you're using a system that does not have date in the passings, that you transform or change all the read dates to the race date. So that's why this adjust stream read dates and times area is so important. You can use the set to race date to quickly enter in the date of the race here. Finally, click save. So I'm going to walk through this, but you can look at the setup here that I have as we go. So I'm going to go to streams. I'm going to click add stream. I'm going to call it MyLapse file finish or something like that. That's fine. Don't need to put a description. I am going to, from the stream type dropdown, select file, customers, chip system type. In the file path, file type, I'm going to go ahead and select MyLapse read-lite file. And this one will change. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Next, I'm going to select the folder path. Where can I find the folder that contains all of my chip reads? So I'm going to go to my desktop here, and I am going to select this folder called sample chip reads. And it's, I'm not going to see anything in here. Don't worry. It's limited. It's only you're only able to hook this up to an actual folder. That's fine. You want to actually pick the sample chip reads folder that your file is within. Go ahead and click select folder. Now we've got my folder path all set properly here. And I have my txt extension. That's good. And I'm going to select bibtag as my system type. Good. Next, I'm going to assign a main stream. I'm going to say the finish location. For today's race, we're not actually going to use the start. We're just going to do a finish only. And finally, I'm going to change all the read dates to the day of the race. So we make it pretty clear if you're working with a system that doesn't provide date in the passing data, that we highly recommend clicking this button. So in the future, we're going to probably make this default. If you are working in a system that doesn't have date in the passing, it's going to automatically do it for you. But for the time being, just make sure that you set to race date if you are working with a stream type that has all of these words here. So I've got everything I need here set up, and I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now I have an assigned stream, which is what we're looking for. Okay, so let's just see if we were able to get our streams added. This is probably one of the more in-depth areas. So let's just see if we were able to set up our stream. Very good. Like most people are getting through it. Just waiting on some responses still. It's like some folks are still working. Looking like most folks are caught up pretty well, so we're going to continue on. We got one more big step, and then we're going to be taking a quick break. So once we get through this, we'll get a little coffee break. Okay, so before we get into it too much, we are going to be talking next about timing locations. We went into detail on this in last week's session. Basically, they are collections of one or many streams of read data. So the streams, remember, they collect all of the read data from your devices. So you'll have like, a stream for your start reads, a stream for your finish reads, and it's all the data. You're going to have like, tens or hundreds of reads per participant. And we need to filter that down and select the best valid read for each participant. So that's what timing locations are for. Timing locations let you define a few different parameters to say, hey, I want to pick out times only within this time range, or I want to pick out times that are starts or finishes based on the different setup you have. It will pick the first time seen or last time seen. So basically, if you're if you're saying this location is a start location, it's going to pick the last time seen for each bib in that range you provide. And for finish locations or split locations, it will pick the best read as the one that was first seen within the time range you've provided. So you have to set up these time filters in order to control what range of times should be considered valid for this location. So this is very important, especially if you're doing a common start-finish race, where you need to say, up until this time of day, I'm going to say those are start reads, and from this time of day and on, those are finish reads. So again, it's possible to have one stream connected to many different locations. It's also possible that many locations can be tied to one, or many streams can be tied to one location. This allows you to have multiple devices assigned to the same location, or a single device assigned to multiple locations. That could be useful if you want to have different time filters for different scored events. So if you had like a 5K and a 10K, starting at completely different times, and you wanted to have different time filters for the 5K and 10K, you could do that even if it's off of a single location in your, your actual hardware. You only have one map. You can connect that to two different locations in RaceDay scoring. Won't be doing that today. It's a little more involved, a little bit more in depth, but just wanted to give you a note on that. Additionally, as you see, RaceDay scoring automatically sets up a start and finish location, but you can go ahead and delete this out, create your own locations. You can change the location types you have built already to a common start-finish location. You can do all sorts of stuff. This is just the default. You don't have to have a separate location for start and finish. So first thing we're going to do is come into the locations tab on RaceDay scoring. The next one down under streams. So what you want to do is select the finish and select settings so we can update the time filtering rules on the finish location. So if you open up the timing location settings for the finish, you'll see that this is already designated as a finish and or split time location type. This is going to then say, okay, the very first time I see for someone, that's going to be their finish time. And what we're going to do is in this next area, we're going to say that we're going to consider finish or split times after this date time here. So this is essentially the earliest expected finish or split time for this location. So remember we said that the race was going to start 7:45. Well, I know that no one's going to be faster than 16 minutes today, let's say. So it's going to start collecting finish reads at 8:01 p.m. So this is what you'll want to do for the setup today. Make sure you have the date set to 2nd of February 2022 and the time set to 8:01 p.m. In addition, down here, it will ask how many occurrences are going to be collected in this race. For today, it's a single finish, just going to be a single occurrence. If it were start finish, you would have 2 occurrences. Today, it's a very straightforward, just single occurrence race. So again, make sure that we begin collecting finish times after the 2nd of February, 2022, 8:01 p.m. Again, this is going to filter out any raw reads from any streams assigned to this location that took place before this time. The raw reads are then, they're filtered out, but they'll still be available as in the raw reads lookup for troubleshooting, but they won't be converted to what we call scored reads, which will be the ones actually used to determine their finish times. So if you, when you're trying this out on your end and you see that you have a ton of raw reads but no scored reads, what you would want to check is to see that your date and time stamps are all matching and correct here. Things get kind of wonky when you're having to create a fake race data and stuff. So usually on RaceSite, you don't run into those many issues, but sometimes you'll see you accidentally enter AM instead of PM or PM instead of AM, and that throws everything off, right? So you have to be careful with what you're doing here. So make sure it's 8:01 p.m. on the 2nd of February, 2022. Again, total number of occurrences, kind of talk about that. It's going to be just 1. If you're doing multiple laps on the finish, you could do 2, like a 5K, 10K on the same location. You could do that if you wanted, but for today, just single occurrence. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a poll to make sure that everybody was able to set up their timing locations. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started again. We are pretty close to actually being wrapped up. It's not too much more setup to be done. So we'll close this poll and get started. Again, if you are falling behind, feel free to put a note in the questions panel and we'll help you out. So next we're going to talk about scored events. So scored events are collections of participants from one or many registration events. So sometimes you'll see registration set up with what you'll see on the right here, a 5K run, a 5K walk, and 5K club pricing, 5K age-based pricing, but they all really are just a 5K, right? To you as a timer, they're just the 5K. So scored events are a way to group together those registration events you may have and say, all of these folks get put into one big scored event. So it's just our way of telling the difference between the registration events that were set up by a registration coordinator and the actual events that you're going to be scoring today. Generally, this is usually going to be distance. So usually you'll have a scored event for the 5K, a scored event for the 10K, and you may have multiple events selected within each. Today, we're going to be doing a very basic setup where you created the race itself, so you only created a 5K run. So you wouldn't need to map multiples, but it's there for you if you do need that. So for today, all you needed to do is go to the scored event tab and then click this quick setup button here. This will just automatically fill out scored events for each and every registration event you have. When you originally created this race, you were creating registration events that were pushed to RunSignup, and now it's saying, okay, I'm going to create a scored event for my 5K. So you can just click that quick setup and it will put in a 5K scored event for you. Here you'll be able to fill out a whole bunch of different things. Today we're just going to do scoring by clock time. This is deciding what order the sorting of the reports that are generated by this scored event will be by, either clock or chip. You can exclude chip time when generating the default reports. So the first time you click save, we generate a default 5K overall report for you. If you don't want chip time to show there when you have clock time selected, you can check that box. There's a similar couple of settings there. If you select chip time, you can exclude the clock time when generating default reports. Totally up to you on what you want. We just give you the option here when you're saving this for the first time. what will be included in your default report. You can always go and update it and change the reports after the fact if you need to. This is just helping you out as a shortcut. So today, just go ahead and select clock time, exclude the chip time when generating default reports. Make sure that the 5K is selected in your included events here. And then we need to set the actual start time. So this is where our gun time would be set by your actual official start. So there's many different ways you can start a race. You can start it right from here by typing it in. If you knew the time of day by heart, you can type it in, or if you recorded it on a pad of paper from a GPS watch or something, you could just type it in here. You can also use the computer clock and just click the set to current time, and it will timestamp at this moment. And there's also on the dashboard a way to set the running clocks for your events. And all it's doing is it's timestamping based on the computer clock if you're using RaceDay scoring to start the race. And it's saying, hey, you click the button at 7:44:00.013. And it's going to say that that's the start time for this 5K. So for this test race, it's actually started at 7:44:00.013 p.m. So make sure you enter that in here and you have the date correct. So just make sure you have this to 02/02/2022, 7:44:00.013 p.m. So let's just make sure, I think I may have a poll on that, if we were able to get the scored events set up. Not yet. No, not until we get to top finishers and age groups. Since that one was an easy, we'll get through this next and then we'll throw a poll up. So this is adding top finishers. So in addition to age groups, we can also, I think I'm, 1 second here, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's just the text is wrong. We're going to add some top finishers. We're going to add overall top 3 male and female and top masters award. So let's go to, on the left, the age groups and group classifications tab. Very first thing we're going to do is select the top finisher settings button right here in the age groups panel. This will allow us to set up those top 3 finishers from your overall and masters from their age groups. Go ahead and click add another band. Type in overall, and we default starting age to 0. We default to 3 and 3, I believe. But basically, for the overalls, the defaults are what you want. So you'll be able to say, I want to select 3 males and 3 females. I want to remove them from their age groups or not. In this case, we are going to remove them from the age groups, and just click save. You'll see on the left, it will put an overall band there. You can go ahead and click add another band to add a masters band. Now we can select or type in masters for the description. The starting age defaults to 40, since that's generally what most folks do. They set up overall, then masters and grandmasters and veterans and so on. So we just default after the first one, which is 0 or 1. We default next to 40, and the next one to 50, and the next one to 60, and so on and so forth. So for our masters band, we're just going to say masters, confirm 40 years of age and up will be awarded this top finisher category. And we're going to say that we're going to remove 1 male and 1 female. And those will be removed from their age groups as well. Go ahead and click save. So we are going to leave the band jumping rules to all. What this is saying is that it will allow jumping to happen between these 2 bands here, overall and masters. So if a 40+ person, 45-year-old wins overall, he gets first overall, he is allowed, in this case, to jump up to a higher priority and win the overall award. If you want to say they're not allowed, if the 45-year-old gets first overall, first person to cross the line, but I want them to receive their master's award instead, you would say none. Or you can double dip or buy a rule. By rule is like depending on prize money, essentially you should get one or the other. So it's a little more complicated, but that's what you should do here. Just think about what happens if someone from a lower band gets the placement above, like they get actually first overall. Do you want them to win the overall or do you want them to win masters? So just something to think about in the future as you're configuring stuff. For now, just set it to all, pretty straightforward. Okay, now we have them both saved. Go ahead and click X. And we are ready to add our age groups. Age groups are your typical, 5-year, 10-year age bands. We give you a really easy way to do this on the age groups screen. Use the Create Ranges button. And this will allow you to say, I'm going to set up 5-year bands, or I'm going to set up 10-year bands. And then starting at an age 10 to ending at age 79. And number of winners, you can set to 3. Insert lower and upper age groups. Basically, we'll say, okay, I'm starting at age 9, and I'm going to automatically append a 1 to 9, and I'm going to automatically append an 80 to 99. So the surrounding age bands are going to be generated for you automatically or not, depending on what you want. And you'll see on the right, it'll give you a preview of the different bands that are going to be created after you click Add Age Ranges here. So before we move on, I'm just going to go ahead and walk through this because we went through a lot there. There we go. So what we did was we came in, we needed to set up our scored event. I only have a single 5K event, and I'm going to click Quick Setup. And it's got most of the stuff set for me here. This doesn't really matter. It did select the start lap timing location for me with my default start. I can also just say it's not a time start. It doesn't actually make a difference for today. Now, I do want to exclude the chip time, so I'm going to check that. Just will make it a little bit cleaner instead of reporting clock time as chip time. And I'm going to set the start time. So again, it was 07:44. I'm going to say 00013, I believe. Let me go double check that one. $7:44:00013, correct. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Been saved. And now we're going to go and set up our top finisher categories first. So on the left, I pick my scored event. There's only one scored event in this case. There could be 5K, 10K, 15K, and you could set up different top finisher categories for each of your events in that way. Today, it's a single 5K, super straightforward. Just click Set Top Finishers, add another band. I'm gonna go and say this is my overall top 3 or something. You don't have to say, you can call it whatever you want, doesn't really matter. You can use a short description, you don't have to. And my starting age is 0, my priority is 1. I'm going to show my genders separately, male and female. I'm going to remove my overall winners from the age groups. Looks good, and I'll save. Next, I'm going to do my master's band. And similarly, starting at age 40, priority 2, good. And I'm just going to say that 1 male and 1 female will be removed from the masters. And I'm going to remove the masters from the age groups. Band jumping set to all so that a master will be able to win the overall and not get the master's award, since maybe they get better prize money or something. Okay, so now I have my top finishers set up. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to click Range Insert for my age groups. And I'm going to make sure I get my numbers right. So I need to set this to 5. I am going to say male and female separately. If you wanted to, or you needed to, you could have an either gender category. That just means, like, sometimes for kids races, they want to say just the 10-year-olds or just the, 9 to 12-year-old kids, regardless of gender, get an award. You can do that. You can do all of them if you wanted to. But today we're just going to do female and male. Either is essentially ignore gender. So I am going to set the min to 10 and the max to 79, number of winners to 3, and then I'm going to insert the upper and lower age groups. So it looks good. I've got my 1 to 99s, my 80 to 99s. I click Add Age Ranges, and it will automatically throw those in for me. So you should be all set. If you needed to, you can insert bands or delete bands. This setup gets kind of wonky if you do insert them. It will automatically insert it at the bottom, and then as you make changes, it'll automatically resort. So just be careful if you did need to add one here, you may lose track of it. It's kind of wonky. But once you're done with this, just go ahead and click save, and it will automatically save for you. So when I created these scored events and I created these age groups for my scored events, on the back end, we actually built some default reports for you. It built you an overall report and an age group report. So that's really nice and handy. You are able to customize those reports. You are able to build new reports if you wanted to. We just kind of do this to get you started. So we have some ideas about what columns you may want in an overall report or an age group report, and we just put them together for you by default. So we're not going to touch those yet because we do need to first start collecting reads, which will be the next step in our process here. So let's just see if everybody was able to get the top finishers and age groups configured. Looking like most people have got this done. That's good. Still waiting on a couple of responses, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step here. So we're very close to being done and all wrapped up for today, so that's good. Next step is just going to be collecting the reads themselves. All right, so go back to the dashboard. So if you click the little home icon in the app itself, and so this little button up here in the top, we talked about it briefly. This is what tells RaceDay Scoring to start looking for data in that folder we set up. So go ahead and click it if it's red to start collecting reads. And now, if you didn't already have that file in the folder you set up, you could drop the file into the folder, or if you already had the file in the folder, it doesn't matter. You just have to make sure that the file is in there after you have started collecting reads, and it'll sense that there's a file in there and go and pick it up. If you needed to get the chip read file again, I have instructions on that here. We already got it, we already unzipped it hopefully, so you should have it, but if you do need to grab it again, you can. And you should start seeing some reads come in. On the right, you'll start seeing raw reads go up, and the scored reads will go up, and you'll start seeing some leaderboards and recent reads and progress reports going up and everything. So you should see that start to happen pretty much momentarily after you click start collecting reads. It does have to kickstart the process, then go through all the reads and pull them in. So it takes a little bit of time, but you should be good. So next, we will run reports. I'm just going to show you first what it looks like when we start collecting reads. So I just want to verify I've got everything set up right. So I'm going to go into my streams area here. I'm going to go into edit, and I'm going to see yep, I've got the sample chip reads folder on my desktop. Okay, let's double check. See, I've got on my desktop, right? I've got sample chip reads. I've got my file. It's got some reads in it. This is good. We're ready to roll. So let's go back to our home screen, and we're gonna just go ahead and start collecting my reads. So now this is going to look at this folder, and it's going to start bringing in any times that are in any files in that folder. So in just a minute, you'll start to see things come in. So I'm starting to see counts happening, things are rolling. So you'll see it kind of go up piece by piece. We block or chunk up the imports, so it comes in like 200 reads at a time for like when we have a ton of reads coming in at once. So on race day, as you're getting people one by one, it's much faster, but when we do like a mass import like this, it does take a little bit for it to come through. So if you click this raw reads count here, you will see all of the data that came in from the actual file you have. And you can see all sorts of things. You can see like this read was not used for some reason. The better read was selected, or it was an unknown bib or chip, or things like that. So this is saying like, hey, this read was selected or not selected. And it gives you all this different information about the time that it occurred, the date it occurred, the device it occurred on, and so on. And so this is really nice because you can come over here on your raw reads and see I've got 440 that were ignored. For one reason or another, they were ignored. And it tells you I had 411 better reads selected. What the heck does that mean? That means that there were 411 times that were being ignored because a better read was selected. So that means that like it was a finish location, and Johnson here, he had a read at that gave him a clock time of 20 minutes and 8 seconds, and then he had a later read. He had a read, because he walked around the finish area afterwards, and that second read got thrown away for him because there was a better read that was selected. So in race day scoring, all of these are clickable. So you can go ahead and click 3897, and it will give you all of the reads for bib 3897. It's just a shortcut into typing in here, but it is a really easy way to look up and see other reads. So if I see like Lawson got no better read selected, I can click 3093, and I'll be able to see all the reads just for Lawson. So I can see, oh, great, it picked his first time seeing at 808. That's what I wanted. All his other ones were just him walking around afterwards. So I wanted those to be ignored. Perfect, great. You can also see more details in his participant record. Over here, we can start to see things like his clock time. We can see all of his placements in different categories. You can see his scored reads. And if I wanted to go back, I can click view raw reads again, and I'm back where I started. So this is how you troubleshoot things with race day scoring. You can go to this raw reads to see, hey, what happened? Why was one read selected but not the other? Use this filtering at the top here to filter these raw reads down to see all different things. But this is what you'll be doing for a lot of the time on an actual race day when you're troubleshooting issues. You can also add manual times in here. If you needed to record a manual time for someone, you could come in and select what device it is, what bib number it is, and then set the time to whatever time they actually finished at. So I could say this random bib that I just made up, finish then, and it will add the raw read for them. Now, this is going to be obviously an unknown. That's fine. In just a second here, it'll probably show up. I remember what it was. There it is. So if you get unknown bibs, we do give you an easy way here to resolve them. So you can click and say that bib 100,000 was Matt Avery, and you'll see as I'm typing, it will try to say, hey, is it one of those people who already exist who don't have a read yet? Or you can just add a new one if it doesn't match any participants in your database already. So I'm just gonna create a new participant, Matt Avery, and it will resolve to that new participant. Okay. And I see I got my new read for him come in. Perfect. So I see now that I have 813 scored reads. Again, those are the filtered raw reads essentially. So of those 1,253, I've got 813 that were considered to be actual times. 440 were ignored, like we talked about. So we should be good. If people are having issues getting the reads in, go ahead and put a note in the chat. I will be putting a poll up to make sure that everybody was able to collect their reads. All right, so most people have responded. A couple of people saying that they have not or were not able to collect reads. So if you are struggling with that, again, feel free to put a note in the chat or the questions panel. We'll be able to help you out. Biggest thing that people will miss here is they didn't click the start collecting reads button. So that would be red if that were the case, or they don't have their stream mapped to a folder that actually has reads in it. So that could be it. Or you may see that you have raw reads here, but you may not have any scored reads being generated. So sometimes what you'll see is you mess up and you have set your filtering completely wrong. So if I come back to my finish and I go to settings, oh, I didn't even do this. See, it's just, yeah. If we were doing a race with a start and finish, I could have messed this up because I never set this as I was walking through with you guys. So I was supposed to set this to 801, and that would filter out any times prior to 801. But I guess I didn't really have any people finishing at that time anyways, so it didn't make a difference. But if I were to say, mess this up and said, I'm going to start collecting finished times on the 3rd at 801, then it's going to really throw things off. So this note tells me changes here are not going to be applied to existing raw reads. Use the recalculate raw reads in the dashboard to apply any changes made here to existing raw reads. So if I change this filter at any point, it's not going to go back and redo everything for me. I have to do that. So if, let's just say I'm going to change this. I messed up my filter, but I'm actually going to show you me messing it up now. So I'm going to save it, and you can see nothing changed. Everything's the same. So in order to apply that new filter, it tells me I have to click recalc here. And this will recalculate raw reads to apply recent changes made to timing, location, filters, and start times. So if you make a change in your start time or your timing locations and you're not seeing those changes reflected, it's because you have to click this button. So go ahead and click that button, and it'll tell me what this does is it will clear out any existing scored reads and then reapply any of the filtering set up in your locations. It's useful if you've made any updates to your start times or timing location collect reads from until settings so that those changes can be applied to existing raw read data. So it doesn't delete the raw reads, it just says, hey, reconsider all of these time filtering rules I have set up. So go ahead and click recalculate, and it will just clear out my scored reads, and my raw reads will probably go down and back up again as they are re-referenced. So now you can see I've got raw reads, but I don't have any scored reads set up. What the heck's going on, right? So this is, you'll see now all of these are ignored, and it's saying 1,224 are being filtered by time. So I'll open this up. If you click these little ignored reasons, like unknown chip, it zooms into all the ones that are of that type. If you click filter by time, I would see all my reads are being filtered by time. Filter by time means that, hey, the read occurred on 2/02/2022, but my filtering down here, you can see it says accepting reads starting at 801/02/03/2022. So I'm waiting until the next day to start considering any of these times. So we know we messed up. So I got to go back and change my finish settings, consider finish split times, and say, okay, it was actually on the 2nd that this race happened, save it. We're going to go back to my dashboard, click my recalculate to re-reference those filters, and I should be hunky-dory soon. Yep, things are coming back in. Looking good. All right, so let's move on. The next thing we are going to do is just start running reports and taking a look at what we've got. So like I said before, we create a few default reports for you automatically. Overall reports are set up for each scored event, and age group reports are set up for each scored event that has age groups set up. So you may have a 10K and a 5K, but maybe only the 10K has age groups or something. You could it would only have a 10K age group report. So go ahead and click reports, and you can click on the name of the report to view that report. So you'll have 5K age group and 5K overall reports. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the, reports on my end. I'll just walk you through. So go to reports here, and we're going to click the age group report. And we'll see that I have my top finishers included as well. So I've got my 5K overall, my 5K overall female and male, my masters female, and then each of my bands down here. And it includes all of them. You can change your reports, which we'll show in a second, to update what does and does not show in a report, or change the columns, or all sorts of things. So this is looking pretty great. So I've got an overall report as well. This is your standard, overall list. It will show their age place. So the first and second, third overall, masters, so on and so forth. And, we put city and state and things like that in there. So this is looking pretty good. So if you did want to update reports, you can use this little action drop down here and click edit. And this will bring you into the report builder. So this is a little more advanced, but it does allow you to do all sorts of things with reports and RaceDay scoring. You can use the edit columns panel to move around. Maybe you want age to show before gender. You can just drag and drop it. You can change this to be, sex or gender or whatever you want to call it. You can change this alignment of each column if you wanted to do that. You can remove columns if you don't want, state to show. You can add different columns to a report. And we have all sorts of different things that you can add here if you wanted to. For whatever reason, you can do that. You can also do on the filtering area, there's a few things that are nice about the age group report specifically. You can say, hey, I want to only show the award winners. This is a newer setting that allows you to use those numbers that you set in your age group setup to say, I want to show just the top 3. Now, you can use this to say all age bands should show 5, or all age bands should show whatever you want. The show award winners only uses the numbers from the age group setup. So if you were in a situation where the kids went 10 deep in the age groups, but the adults went 5 deep or something like that, you could do that. And there's all sorts of things here. You can show non-finishers. If you wanted to show runners in progress for a triathlon or something like that, you could do that. And all sorts of other scoring filters, which are a more advanced feature and are a way to basically limit this report to be only those, let's say, who are in a certain zip code or in a certain city or have responded a certain way to a custom question or something like that. You can filter reports based on that. So I'm gonna just check this award winners only, and this will allow me to limit the age groups to only go 3 deep. So that's just a quick way to give an awards print out if you need to. You can come in here and just go to actions, print preview, and you can just click print, and it will automatically print out your age group report right there once you send it to the printer. So that actions edit functionality is really handy. You can add more sections to a report. If you want to build a really custom report, you could have the top award winners above and then the overall beneath. You can come in here and add additional sections to a single report. So you could have overall and age groups or age groups and overall, or whatever you wanted to do, you could do in the report builder. Won't go into detail on that, but the last thing that we're going to do today is we are actually going to publish this report to RunSignup. Before I get there, just a quick hint, if you're looking for someone's results, you can use this little report here and type in 3097 or whatever you want to quickly search for someone's results. And obviously, you can also go to their participant lookup and say, okay, what did David do? He got, 34th in his age group, or he got, his time was this or that. So this lets you just search through results in a few different ways. So if we want to publish results to RunSignup, it doesn't work automatically. You do have to say that I want to publish results to RunSignup. So don't worry if you're working on a race and you're just running some test reads through. Nothing happens automatically. You do have to do this in order for the results to go. So don't worry about publishing result data if you're just testing things out. It's not going to happen. So what you need to do is set up what we call an auto save. So if you go to the reports list, you'll see for the overall report, an auto save and quick publish button. So you only need to publish the overall report, and RunSignup will automatically generate the standings for the age groups on its own. You don't need to publish both. So that's why you only see the auto saves available for a report that has an overall section within it. So just click this auto save button, and it'll bring you to this screen. You can use this left-hand side to publish to RunSignup results. And you can auto save every however many seconds you want. I think this is limited to 30 seconds now. So every 30 seconds, it'll send up the results. And then just fill in the result set title, what scored event, and the pace display. At the bottom, once you get through this, you'll click Add Stream and then Save Settings. And then that will start publishing to RunSignup immediately. And you'll be able to use this new live results links drop down to view your different result pages. So let me just walk through that on my end. So I've got my reports here. I've got a autosave settings and I've got quick publish settings. So I'm going to click this autosave settings and I've got my RunSignup results right here. So I'm going to click plus. And these are the defaults. You can just leave them right in here and you can adjust these if you wanted to, but the defaults will get us what we need today. So just make sure that you don't set anything in here, just leave it at the default. Go ahead and click Add Stream and then Save Settings. As soon as we do this, results are going to start publishing to RunSignup, and we'll see this little indicator go that my auto saves are now running. So this means that results are currently publishing to RunSignup. On the dashboard, I also am going to see this little panel here, Report Autosaves, and it's going to say I've got my report 5K overall results, and it's publishing to this result set on RunSignup, and every 30 seconds it's pushing. And the last push happened at 1:47:03 p.m. So now I just had one go up, so I know that results are being published to RunSignup. So you have a few places where you can get access to your result pages. If you go to reports, like I said here, you can go ahead and click live results links and view results. This just brings you over to your results page on RunSignup, and you can view, and click around and see the data. Additionally, if you go to this little toolbar up here, you can see RunSignup links. If you hover over the name of the race, and you can select to go to the dashboard, manage result sets, participants and teams, or view results, which just gives you another quick link to it. If you need to quickly access it as you're scoring a race, someone's saying they're not showing the results online, you can go ahead and click that and you'll get right to it so you can see what's going on. So any changes that happen here in RaceDay scoring are going to get pushed up to RunSignup. If I said that Johnson, he actually was disqualified, the next time a push goes up to RunSignup, he will get removed and everything will get reset so that he would be out of the results. So it'll take just 30 seconds for that push to go up, and then I should see that Johnson's no longer in the results. I can see that he's no longer in my top 5 by gender category here. Should go in just a minute. So just updated. So now if I just refresh my browser page on the left, we should see that Wade is now the winner because Johnson got disqualified. So that looks good. Let's just see how people are doing. Are we able to get our results published to RunSignup? Looks like some folks are having some issues with getting the results to go up. So if you do have any problems going on, feel free to put a link in the, or put a note in the questions panel. I'll be able to help you out. For those of you who are ready to go and all set, we're gonna just continue on here. We're almost wrapped up. So we just need to now submit your race file for review and take the quiz. So in the document you have, you'll be able to find a quiz submission link in the, let's just find it here. Right here, go ahead and click this link and it will just bring you to a little form here where you'll be able to go in and fill out the questions that are on here. They're not very hard. It's just basically making sure that you actually went through the process and did it and completed the course. So go ahead and just fill that out. And we've had some folks try to download the file because like a Google Drive link and then open it in the computer. Just click the link and follow through in your browser and complete it in your browser. We should be, we'll be grading this, releasing scores. Might not be tomorrow afternoon, might be the next day, but we'll have it definitely by the end of the week. And when you do this, just go ahead and click in the top right the Get Help icon, and click, fill out your email address, name, and you can just say certification submission and just click send. This will give us a backup of your race file so that we can review it with your quiz responses to see like, hey, if you just messed up something silly, or you accidentally, instead of entering the place for someone, you entered their clock time or something like that, we would be able to verify that you actually did everything right. So just make sure that once you've submitted the quiz, you've also submitted your race file for review. And that will be all that we need for today. So what's next? We do have a lot of other training materials on our help page. So help.rdscoring is a really great resource. Got a lot of guides and getting started. That YouTube link I sent out that went through the session from last week is also a great resource with some documentation on specific areas like, hey, I need to learn more about streams, I need to learn more about MyLab streams, or I need to learn more about locations and segments and things like that. You'll be able to find links to all that content from that video and presentation. And you'll also be able to search if you wanted to on the help page here. Additionally, best way to get in touch with us is using this Get Help icon in the top right. This will send us a note with the backup of the race in its current state, so we can see what you're seeing on our end. So if you're like, hey, I'm thinking I got this setup done right, but I'm not sure, go feel free, just send us in and have us take a look. We're more than happy to just take an overview look at your race, or make sure that you're on the right track if you're not sure about something. Or if you need us to look into something for you, you're saying like, hey, this looks wrong, this person should have had a different time, we can review that as well. Best way to get in touch is right here. Now, on the weekends, if you are having issues, we do have a support line always available, 267-603-1469. And we also do have training sessions, one-on-ones available. So Crisp is our expert for training on race day scoring, and so he does do these sessions. Just go ahead and click either book a basic or an advanced, and basically this will schedule a time with Crisp for you to do a one-on-one, usually about an hour, hour and a half maybe. And best thing you can do with those ones is have a very specific issue, or if you're brand new to race day scoring, you have ready a file that you've scored in the past, like an old race, and you have the MyLabs timing and scoring file ready to go, and you just want to rescore it. That's a really good usage of this time, is to just have Crisp walk you through what you need to do to recreate an old race. So definitely recommend that if you need some one-on-one time. We also are available at RaceDay@RunSignup.com. That is our support email, or just like I said, use the Get Help icon. So that is mostly what we have for today. Are there any questions coming in the chat that we need to review, Chris?
No, I think we've got through everything.
Cool. Well, looks like we hit our time on the dot. Again, this is all going to be recorded. We're going to be sharing it out probably sometime next week. So if you need to review it, or you need to send it to someone who is interested in learning about race day scoring or getting certified, we'll be able to do that for you. Thanks again for joining us, and happy to have you on board. Talk to you soon.